बड़ा जरूरी काम है, अब क्लास शुरू हो गई है। Good morning. Am I audible to everyone? You can comment in the chat box. Okay. So we'll begin with Act 1, Scene 2 within 2 minutes. We'll wait for other children to join in and then we'll begin. Act 1, Scene 2 will begin. If you have any doubts in the middle of what I explain, you will ask in the comment box itself. This scene opens in Belmont, where the rich and beautiful heiress resides. So now there is a shift from the scene of Venice, which was very serious, intense. There was business going on, there was commercialization that we were talking about, and now we are shifted to a scene which is in Belmont, where the mood is very light. People have fun, people are enjoying their life to the fullest. Let's see. She shares with her maid Nerissa. Now, common mistake is the spelling of Nerissa, so please pay attention. It is Neri, not double R. Her doubts concerning her future due to strange provisions of her father's will. According to the will, she is to be won by the suitor who chooses correctly from among the 3 caskets of gold, silver, and lead. Now, you already know that Portia's father had devised a lottery of caskets, right? And anyone who would like to, just woo Portia has to choose the correct casket, which was the legend casket. I'm beginning with the setting of the scene, that is Belmont, a room in Portia's house. Now, Belmont, a room in Portia's house. If the question comes that where are the speakers or where is the scene taking place, this is the answer. It is in a room in Portia's house in Belmont. Enter Portia and Nerissa. Now, this is very important. You should know at what point of time, during what action, which characters are present there. By my troth. They can ask you in MCQs or in form of a question, what is the meaning of troth? So, troth means faith. Nerissa, my little body is aweary of this great world. Portia is saying that she is tired of this huge world. Now, there is a similarity between the first scene and the second scene. In the first scene, Antonio was shown in the sad mood, whereas in the second scene also, Portia is shown in the sad mood. The difference is, we knew the reason of sadness for Portia. She was sad because she could not choose a husband of her choice. But for Antonio, we didn't know the reason that why he was sad. She's tired basically of all the stream of suitors coming to woo her. Nerissa, you would be sweet, madam. Now, Nerissa, the character sketch should be prepared simultaneously as per the scene of all the characters. Nerissa, she being a foil, we can say, to her Portia, she's always trying to console her, she's always trying to soothe her troubles. So she says, if your miseries were in same abundance as your fortunes are, means if the number of your miseries, your sufferings is equivalent to the good fortunes or good luck that you enjoy, and yet for aught I see, she says, as far as I can see, they are as sick that surfeit with too much as they that starve with nothing. She says the people who have too much, means abundance of things, I see that they starve with nothing. Means they also suffer equally to the people who are starving, who have lack of amenities or lack of provisions in their life. Basically, she's saying excess and scarcity of something makes the person suffer equally. You have to be somewhere in the middle. It is no mean happiness, therefore. It is no mean happiness means it is not a small happiness or limited happiness to be seated in the mean, to be somewhere in the middle. You have to be somewhere around in the middle, not too much, having neither too much nor too less. Superfluity comes sooner by white hairs. She says that superfluity. Now here superfluity means this excess of something always brings white hairs. Now white hair come because of anxiety, because of suffering. So Nerissa, being very wise, she talks very wisely and says that if you have abundance of things, you are going to age soon. But competency lives longer. But someone who has enough, just enough or limited amount of something will live a long life. Why? Because there is no tension, there is no anxiety, etc. Portia says, good sentences and well pronounced. She says that whatever you say are very good, well pronounced sentences. They have deep meanings. They would be better if followed. So Nerissa says, but these sentences that I say, they will have more relevance if they are followed as well. Means if what I am saying is practiced, then it will have more relevance. Portia, if to do were as easy as to know what were good to do. She says if it was as easy as to do something than to tell someone what to do. Like if I tell you that it's better to study, but if I don't study myself, then that thing is useless. I have to do what I preach you. She says chapels had been churches and poor men's cottages princes' palaces. She says that the chapels, small places of worship, would become big churches, and the houses of the poor or the downtrodden would become palaces of king and queens if we start practicing what we preach. I can easier teach 20 what were good to be done. She says that I can tell 20 people that what is right to do and what is wrong, than be one of 20 to follow mine own teaching. But it is very difficult to be one amongst those 20 to follow what we preach. The brain may devise laws for the blood. She says the brain is going to make some laws for your blood. Means your brain, your faculty of brain makes or devises some rules for your body to follow. But a hot temper leaves over a cold degree. But a hot temper means your young youthful temperament, your behavior during your youth just doesn't follow, and in a very cold manner you shirk from those responsibilities or those roots. Cold degree means those dry laws. But this reasoning is not in the fashion to choose me a husband. But she's saying this is not helping me. I think I missed a line. Such a hair is madness the youth. But she says here she's comparing the youthful spirits of a person to a hare, that is a rabbit. She says just like a rabbit jumps over or leaps over the meshes, means the nets. Similarly, in our youth, we jump over the nets of good advices. Here refers to the rabbit. Is madness refers to the youthful advices or the youthful spirit. The youth skip over the meshes of good counsel. Basically, meshes, the nets that the rabbit just jumps across and just ignores. Similarly, they are saying in our youth, we also ignore the nets, the safety nets of advices or good counsel, good advices given to us. Over the meshes of good counsel, the cripple means we just cripple them, we just ignore them and move on. But this reasoning is not in the fashion to choose me a husband. But this reasoning, but this logic, this logic, whatever Nerissa has told her, is not helping her find a husband for herself or choose a husband for herself. Now, here she is going to quibble around with the word choose. I may neither choose whom I would nor refuse whom I dislike. She says, I can neither choose a husband for myself nor refuse the one for myself. So, is the will of a living daughter curbed by the will of a dead father? She's saying the will, the desire of a living daughter, a live daughter, is controlled by the written will or the will that the father has signed before his death. Is it not hard, Nerissa, that I cannot choose one nor refuse none? Now, if they ask you what was the reason of Portia's sadness, this is the reason, that she can neither choose a husband nor refuse one. Henceforth, she feels sad that a young girl has no say in choosing a husband for herself. Nerissa, your father was ever virtuous. Now Nerissa is trying to console her. She says that your father has been a pious man. He was a person with very much good qualities. And holy men at their death have good inspirations. And she says that when holy men or pious or pure men, God-fearing men die, they have divine inspiration, means they get advices or messages from God. Therefore, the lottery that he hath devised. Therefore, he says the divine guidance of making that lottery of caskets for the wooers that come to woo you, that was the divine guidance given to him by God. That he had devised in three chests of gold, silver and lead, whereof who chooses his meaning chooses you. And whoever chooses the exactly right casket is indirectly going to choose you. Will no doubt never be chosen by any rightly, but one who shall rightly love. And she says, I have no doubt that whoever loves you will only be able to choose the casket rightly and nobody else. But what want is there in your affection towards any of these princely suitors that are already come? She says, but what, special kind of feeling or love that you have in your feelings towards the suitors, those who have already come. Now, from here on, what you need to memorize is the sequence of the suitors who come for her. How you'll prepare for your exam first. Good inspiration here refers to the divine guidance, the guidance given by God. How God, helps the people to foresee the things that might follow in the future. So when they are going to die, God is giving them guidance. Here, when Portia's father was going to die, he maybe had understood that because Portia was a wealthy woman, men would try to woo her, but they might not love her. So he devised those three conditions that whoever chooses whoever wants to make the choice, first of all, he would never marry any other lady. Second, he has to immediately just leave Venice once he has made the choice. And third, he would never disclose what choice he made to anyone else. And apart from that, then he would only be allowed to choose the caskets. So this was the divine guidance of three caskets that was given to him by God. I hope it's clear now. I was talking about Portia, that now from here on, the way she mentions about all the suitors, her comments on all the suitors are very important, because these are 3 or 4 marks questions which you can get. I pray thee overname them. I request you, just name them. And as thou namest them, and as you're going to name them, I will describe them. I will describe them means I will keep telling you about them. And according to my description and whatever I tell you about them, level at my affection. You can decide that what kind of feelings I have for them. Now from here, what characteristic of Portia do you draw? When she is going to mention about different suitors, we come to know that she is witty. She is never out of words. She is very expressive. This is going to help you to write the character sketch of Portia depending on Act 1, Scene 2. Nerissa. The first suitor is Neapolitan prince. So he is basically from Naples, that is in Italy. Neapolitan, it's not Neapolitan, the common mistake that students make. So please take note. Hey, that's a colt indeed. She says he's like a horse. Now, why she compares him to a horse? Because just like horses are headstrong and very rough in their manners, she feels Neapolitan prince was also very rough and headstrong in his manners. Indeed. So he doth nothing but talk of his horse. She says he does nothing at all. He only keeps bragging and talking about his horse. And he makes it a great appropriation, means he makes it a great accomplishment for himself to his own great parts that he can shew himself. And when he is counting his merits, he takes extreme pride when he says that he can shew or control his own horse. So basically, what is Portia's opinion about Neapolitan prince? That he's headstrong, he's rough, he is proud of his ability to shoe a horse. So this 3 points can easily fetch you 3 marks. But again, grammatical errors and spelling mistakes should not be done. Second suitor is, then is there the county palatine. County palatine basically means local ruler. Okay, palatine basically from this Rhineland. Rhineland. Now this was the second suitor. So Portia says, he doth nothing but frown. She says he has a bad habit of always frowning. As who should say, and you will not have me choose. He hears merry tale. Now she's saying he's such a personality that he always keeps frowning, and he doesn't care whether Portia or anybody would like to get married to him. She says that if I say that I would like to get married, then also he's okay with it. And if I say no, then also he's okay. He doesn't care about anything much. He hears merry tales. The second thing that she says about the suitor is that when he hears happy tales, happy stories, and smiles not, that he's such a serious-minded fellow that he would not laugh even at that time or smile even when he hears happy tales. I fear he will prove the weeping philosopher. She says that I feel that he is going to be a weeping philosopher. Now this question can come, that who was weeping philosopher? Weeping philosopher refers to Heraclitus of Ephesus. Now this person, Heraclitus of Ephesus, was so depressed because of the human follies or the behavior of mankind that he went to mountains to spend his life in isolation. So she says that this county palatine is also like him, that he's so sad in his youthful age that she feels that when he's going to grow old, he's going to go to the mountains like the weeping philosopher and live in isolation. Weeping philosopher, this can come as a question, children. When he grows old, that when he's going to grow old, he's going to go to the mountains. Being so full of unmannerly sadness in his youth, because he is full of that unmannerly means reasonless sadness in his young age, when otherwise everyone is considered jovial, happy, high spirited, etc. Basically this is an allusion now, okay, mention of weeping philosopher. I had rather be married to a death's head. So she says, I would choose to get married to the head of a death, the skull with 2 bones beneath it, that sign of danger. She says I would get married happily to it, a bone in his mouth, than to either of these. She says I would be happy to get married to that danger head in spite of getting married to any of the 2 suitors mentioned. God defend me from these 2. She says, please God save me from these 2 suitors. Now, number 1, frowning. Number 2 about county palatine was that he was serious-minded, never used to laugh. He was so sad in his youth that he would become a weeping philosopher in his old age. And 4th, that she chooses to get married to a death's head in spite of getting married to county palatine. So this is how you're going to prepare for all the suitors. What was said, what were the points. The next is, Nerissa mentions, how say you by the French lord? She says, what do you have to say about the French lord, Monsieur Laban? What do you have to say about him? Now you should know the meaning of Monsieur Laban. It means Sir the Good. Portia says, God made him and therefore let him pass for a man. She says, just because God has created him, let us consider him to be a man. Basically, she's saying that he is so bad that he is not worthy enough to be considered a human being also. But because God created him, let him be considered a man. In truth, it is a sin to be a mocker. She says, in reality, it is a bad thing to mock someone, to make fun of someone. But he hath a horse better than the Neapolitans. She says that she's drawing comparison between Maria Laban and other two suitors. She says that he draws comparison, that Neapolitan prince talks still less about his horse in comparison to Maria Laban. A better bad habit of frowning, and he has even worse bad habit than the county paladin. He is where every man in no man. So this is something new now she says about his personality, that he has no individuality or individual personality of his own. He has all the characteristics of different people. Okay, every man of a no man means no special trait of his personality. If a throstle sing, now throstle is a bird, okay, it's thrush, okay. If throstle sing, if this bird sings, he falls straight. A capering means he immediately starts jumping. He will fence with his own shadow. And she's taking a dig at the French people, that they are so overprotective or so conscious that even if they see their own shadow, they are going to fight against it. If I should marry him, I should marry 20 husbands. She says, if I am going to get married to a person like Maria Laban, then I am going to marry 20 husbands. Why? Because he has no individual personality. The characteristics that he has are from different people. If he would despise me, I would forgive him. She says, if he is going to reject me, I am going to forgive him. For if he love me to madness, because if he falls in head over heels love with me, I shall never requite him. I can never reciprocate his love. So now, when you are making your notes, remember what was said about Maria Laban. Okay, there are some doubts. This is a little bit off topic, but you can please tell me about it. That I'll deal later on about the cold weather. Now, Nerissa says to Falconbridge, the young Baron of England. She's talking about Falconbridge now, the fourth suitor. I say nothing to him. She says, I don't think of him at all. For he understands not me, because he doesn't understand me at all. Nor I him. She basically says that I can neither understand what he speaks, nor he can understand what I speak. He had neither Latin, French, nor Italian. She's taking a dig at these people of England, that they know every language like Latin, French, Italian, that he cannot speak any of the languages like Latin, French, Italian. And you will come into the court and swear. And she tells Nerissa that anybody can come to the court and swear that I have a poor penny worth in the English, that I have too less knowledge of English. See, she's basically, hinting that people of England give prominence to only their language and they do not learn any other language, right? So she says that we cannot understand what the other person is speaking because there is linguistic or language barrier between us. And you will come into the court and swear that I have a poor penny worth in English, that I have very little knowledge of English. He is a proper man's picture. She says he's very handsome, he looks very perfect, but alas, she says sadly, who can converse with a dumb show? She says, how can I talk to a person who's a dumb show, who's like a mime, who doesn't speak but only does the actions? How oddly he is suited. She says that his attire, his dress is very odd. I think he bought his doublet. She says that his personality, his clothes are from different places. The jacket, the doublet that he wears is from Italy. His round hose in France. So he has taken his trousers from France. His bonnet in Germany. His hat is from Germany. and his behavior everywhere, and the manners that he shows are from everywhere. So there is a satire on the people of England, that they cannot speak other languages, but they have picked up their personality or their attires from different places. It is a satire. Nerissa, what think you of the Scottish lord, his neighbor? She says, okay, now what do you think about the fifth suitor, that is the Scottish lord, who is the neighbor of English? Now, when she talks about the Scottish lord, she intends to say that Scots are cowards. Let's see. That he hath a neighborly charity in him. She says that he has a love, that he hath a neighborly charity in him means he has that feeling of charity for the neighbors. This just she's trying to ironically talk. She intends to say something else. She intends to say that they are so much coward that they are always just letting go whatever bad behavior is shown towards them by their neighbors. For he borrowed a box of the ear of the Englishman, because he got a hard blow under his ear by the Englishman. They were attacked by the Englishmen, and swore he would pay him again. But she says that he swore that he's going to return that hard blow, but he didn't at that time. He was able. He said that he would return that hard blow whenever he was able to do so. I think the Frenchman became his surety. She says that I feel it was the French who always keep guiding the Scottish people, and this time also the French became their surety and sealed under for another, and they signed as a surety in that bond that whenever the Scots will be in a position to return that hard blow, they are going to do that. Hint is that basically she's just trying to say that Scottish people are cowards, okay, and they always seek guidance from the French people whenever they have to deal with the English. Nerissa, how like you the young German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew? She says, what do you think about the young German, that is Duke of Saxony's nephew? Portia, very wildly in the morning. Now about this person, she wants to say that he has weird kind of personality. He's not a stable man, and he's not a good man also, because whenever he's trying to be good, at that time also he's little better than a beast. Now good person is a good human being, but when she's talking about the goodness of this person, she's comparing it to be better than a beast. Let's see. Very wildly in the morning. She says this person is very bad in the morning, in a very bad temperament in the morning. When he's sober means when he's not drunk, and most wildly in the afternoon. And his behavior becomes worst in the afternoon when he is drunk. When he's sober, he's bad. But the degree changes when he is drunk. He becomes worst in the afternoon when he's drunk. When he is best, he's a little worse than a man. Means when he's trying to be best of his version, then he's worse than a man. Means somehow beastly but not beast at that time. And when he's worst, he's little better than a beast. And when he's trying to show the best of his personality, he's little better than being a beast. And the worst fall that ever fell, and the worst thing that ever happened, I hope I shall make shift to go without him. She says, let the worst thing happen, but I hope that I will be able to escape from getting married to this wildly spirited or bad spirited person. Nerissa, if he should offer to choose, now Portia, Nerissa is saying that if he manages to choose the correct casket and choose the right casket, you should refuse to perform your father's will. If you should refuse to accept him, she reminds her that if she chooses to reject this suitor, if he makes the right choice, then she'll violate the oath that she had taken to follow her father's will. Portia, therefore, for fear of the worst. Now she says, because I fear this worst thing to happen, I pray thee. She says, I request you, set a deep glass of Rhenish wine on the contrary casket. She says, keep a glass of Rhenish wine, that is white wine, on the casket, which is wrong. Why? Because we already told that he was not a sober man, he was a drunkard. For if the devil be within and the temptation without, she says, if there is devil inside the wrong casket, but outside there is the temptation of wine kept, I know he will choose it. She says, I am very sure that he is going to choose that casket on which that temptation is there. I will do anything, Nerissa, ere I will be married to a sponge. She says, I can do anything to, just, avoid getting married to a sponge. Sponge here is a term used for the young German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew, because she wants to say that he is a drunkard. Sponge means drunkard, and she is using this term in context to the young German. Now this was the sequence of the various suitors. From here, 6 suitors have been mentioned, but there is some contradiction later. Let's discuss that also. Nerissa, you need not fear, lady, the having any of these lords. She says you don't have to fear, dear lady, of getting married to any of these lords or any of these suitors. They have acquainted me with their determination. They have told me about their final decision, which is indeed to return to their home, and they have decided that they are going to go back to their home. And to trouble you with no more suit, means they are not going to trouble you or pester you with their requests unless you may be won by some other sort than your father's imposition, unless there is some other condition or way that your father has told to get married to you, depending on the caskets, apart from the lottery of caskets. Portia, very important dialogue. These allusions are important. She says, if I live to be as old as Sibylla, means if I live a life as long as that of Sibylla. Now, who is Sibylla? She is basically a Roman prophetess who was blessed by god Apollo to live long years of life, as much as years as she had the grains of sand in her hand. So, you should know this allusion, and why Portia mentions this should also be known to you. As chaste as Dinah, and she says, I would live a life of purity as chaste, as pure as Dinah. Now Dinah was also Roman prophetess, and Dinah, she was goddess of virginity. Okay, she was goddess of this moon also, and hunting also, but she was goddess of virginity as well. So Portia says, I will continue to live like a virgin, pure and pious, and I will continue to live a long life like Sibylla if there is no suitor who can win me according to the lottery of caskets devised by my father. I am glad this parcel of wooers are so reasonable. She says, I am very happy that these suitors are so intelligent, they are so smart, so reasonable, logical, for there is not one among them but I dot on his very absence, because there is not a single amongst them about whose absence or whose going away from here would bother me, and I pray God grant them a fair departure. And she says, I pray to God that they have a happy departure back home. Nerissa, do you not remember, lady, in your father's time, a Venetian, a scholar, a soldier? Now remember these words, they are very important. Nerissa says, do you remember, lady, my dear Portia, in your father's time, means when your father was alive, a Venetian came. A Venetian here refers to Bassanio, a scholar. Now he was not a scholar. Nerissa is using only the words which would please her mistress. So she's calling Bassanio as a scholar and as a soldier, but he was not a scholar or a soldier. That came hither in company of Marquis of Montferrat. So she says, do you remember that person who came to this place? Marquis, during the times of Marquis of Montferrat. Now this is a title of a noble Italian nobleman. Okay. Portia, yes, it was Bassanio. As I think so was he called. Now she excitedly says that it was Bassanio, but then she becomes conscious and she says maybe that is what his name was. Nerissa, true madam, he of all the men that ever my foolish eyes looked upon was the best deserving a fair lady. She says, all the men that I have seen till date, he was the best person to get married to you. Nerissa, being a lady in waiting to Portia, she's just uttering the words which Portia would like to hear. Enter a servant. So now a servant enters. How now? What news? Portia asks the servant that what is the news? The four strangers seek for you, madam, to take their leave. She says that there are four suitors who are waiting, to just go back to their respective places. And there is a forerunner. There is a forerunner means there is forerunner means messenger come from a fifth, and there is a messenger from the fifth suitor, the Prince of Morocco. Now the fifth suitor who's coming is Prince of Morocco, but actually he's the seventh. Now this is very important that earlier, six suitors were mentioned, but maybe, there are probabilities that why four are mentioned now. First reason can be maybe Shakespeare forgot that earlier he has mentioned six. Second could be that the Scottish and English lords were just added to amuse the audience, okay? And third can be that he, the servant regards the two of them, that is Scottish and English with contempt, and he does not give value to even mention them. So these can be the probable reasons that why only four suitors are mentioned by the servant. You should know this, that why four are mentioned. Now actually if we count, it is seventh suitor, that is Prince of Morocco. Common mistake is spelling of Morocco. Please take note. It is M-O-R-O, not double R. Who brings word, and this messenger has brought a message. The prince, his master, will be here tonight. That his master is going to reach Belmont the same night. Portia, if I could bid the fifth welcome with so good heart as I can bid the other four farewell. She says, I wish that I could welcome the fifth suitor with as much enthusiasm with which I say goodbye to the other 4 or 6 suitors who've been going back. I should be glad of his approach. She says, I would have felt very happy of his arrival if he have the condition of a saint. If he have the condition means if he has the nature or the behavior of that of a saint and the complexion of a devil, and his appearance is like that of a devil. I had rather he should shrive me than wife me. She says, I wish that he shrives me means he listens to my sins, and like a holy man he forgives me for all my sins in spite of getting married to me. Come Nerissa, Sirrah, go before. She says, come Nerissa along with me. Sirrah, she says, Sirrah is a term which is used to just address the servants. Go before. She says, you go in front of us or ahead of us. Whilst we shut the gate upon the one wooer, another knocks at the door. So she says, while I shut the door for one suitor, the another is already ready to come, which shows that she is basically fed up of one suitor following the other. So now we are done with Act 1, Scene 3. There are some important things that I have already told you, that when you talk about Portia's character specifically based on Act 1 Scene 2, you should know that what use points you can write. You can first of all write that she was a loyal daughter. How will you justify she was a loyal daughter? Because she says that she will continue to live a long life like Sibylla and a pure life like Dinah if she is not married by according to the lottery of caskets devised by her father. Then we can say that she has a great sense of humor. And why we can say so? Because whenever she's commenting on the suitors, she says very funny things also, like she calls somebody a horse itself, then she's calling the other person better than a beast, etc. So these things add to that humor, all right, and shows her humorous personality. And we can also say that she's never at loss of words. Why? Because she is so wonderfully expressing all the things about the suitors and very efficiently she is doing that. So we can say Portia is a loyal daughter. She has a great sense of humor. She is never at loss of words. Also we can say that though she is sad because of the will that she cannot choose, but she still abides by what her father told. Then about the another character, that is Nerissa. Now Nerissa, although not very prominent character but important one. Why I am saying so? Nerissa, she is always acting as a foil, a wrap up to her this Portia, who's her mistress. Why? Because she's always giving her wise advices. When she feels that she's an unlucky daughter who cannot make the choice of a suitor, she corrects her and says that her father, because he was a divine person or because he was a pious person, maybe he had a divine guidance. Then we can say that she's also very witty, right? She's witty because she can give wonderful expressions like superfluity comes sooner with white hair, etc., whatever she said. And then she's a good lady in waiting, or a good servant, or this companion to Portia, because whenever her mind is perturbed or disturbed, she's there to just ooze her, just stop her down or calm her down from her troubles. So that's all for Act 1, Scene 2. If there are any doubts, you can please ask. If there are doubts from Act 1, Scene 2, please ask. No doubts to anyone? Alright, so I'll disconnect from this link. I'll send a separate link for Act 1, Scene 3. French Lord. Okay, so the points for French Lord were that first of all she compares him to Neapolitan Prince and says that he brags more about his horse than Neapolitan Prince. And then she compares him to this Count Palatine, and she says that he frowns more than Count Palatine. Then the third thing she says that he's overjoyous at petty things, like he can jump and enjoy the song of the throstle. And next thing she says is that he's overprotective, or he is so conscious that he can even fight against his own shadow. Basically, she's saying that French people are overprotective, or they're overconscious of their protection. And she says that he has no individuality in his personality, he has no characteristic of his own, and it's better to get married to 20 men, because in this person also, if she gets married to this person, she's indirectly marrying 20 people, because he has no particular personality trait of his own. He has the personalities of all other individuals. I'm glad this parcel of words are so reasonable. They are reasonable because they have this. If you could mention where these lines are. Okay, I got it. I'm glad this parcel of words are so reasonable. She says this because she feels that they have been wise enough to go back, and not make the choice of the caskets. She feels so because if they would choose, if they would make the right choice, she would have to get married to them. Here she's feeling that they are reasonable because they are not making the choice, and she will not have to get married to them, because it would not be from her heart that she wants to marry any of them. It would be just because of the condition laid. That is why she feels that they are reasonable enough or wise enough to go back and not choose the right casket. I hope you got the answer. Scottish Lord. About the Scottish Lord, you only need to remember that she wants to say that Scottish Lord is a coward. He has no courage to do things, and he's always seeking guidance from the Frenchmen. He's never able to retaliate or just give back whatever he receives from the English neighbors, and he's always seeking solace from the French people in that case. Anything else? Alright, if we are done with this, I'm sending the next link for Act 1, Scene 3.